Coach, could you give us just a little background and kind of what drew you to LSU?
Yeah. So obviously, my background is, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. Played ball at Iowa as a safety. Under Hayden Fry, I was fortunate enough to be drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. Played roughly about 6 years in the NFL. Got into coaching at Kansas State under Bill Snyder as a GA. 1 year there, 1 year at Western Illinois, 1 year at Minnesota, 5 years at Wisconsin with Brett Bielema, 5 years at Notre Dame. Originally with Brian Kelly and his first staff, and then I left and went to Oklahoma for 5. Tech for 1, back to Notre Dame for 2, and then obviously, LSU is a special place. Growing up so close in Texas and just obviously being a college football coach, you know that this is a top 5 job in America. So the conversation with Coach Kelly was pretty easy when he wanted me to come down to join him.
You've been with some pretty amazing coaches there. I mean, it's a lot to learn from, I guess. What about Brian kept you coming back?
I think the older that you get in this profession, about people. And I had a tremendous time from 2010 to 2015 at Notre Dame, my first time working with Coach Kelly. And just knowing who he is, knowing the expectations, knowing his program, knowing the structure that he's going to bring and put in place here was a pretty easy thought for me to come back and join him.
Just in the last couple of years, we've seen more of the corner coach and the safety coach separate. Why is that? What does it offer each group?
Yeah, I think that specifically nowadays, with the way the offenses are built, the defenses are typically, split from one side to the other. And, particularly I think that from the skills that a corner needs versus what a safety needs is completely different. And it's hard for one guy to coach those specific techniques, and get the most out of each player. So I've always said I've had most of the guys most of my career, but if I had to do it all over again, I would think that it should be split, always completely, because you're stealing from somebody if you've got them all. The corners aren't getting what they need to get if you're working with the safeties, and the safeties aren't getting what the corners need if you're working with the safety. So to have it split is awesome, and Steeps has been unbelievable to work with. Great communicator. Good ideas guy. So I'm really looking forward to working with him.
Your thoughts on the acronym DBU?
DBU, history, tradition, LSU. I think that things when I think about with that, passion, competitiveness, and then some of the greats. Obviously, So I'm honored to be able to be a part of that legacy. But also understand that tradition is not going to win future games. So what I've just harped on with the guys right now is they've just got to understand. One is we've got to get the right guys in here from a character standpoint, cultural standpoint. The talent will take care of itself because you're at LSU. But if we can get the right character, right culture, guys to buy into the system, guys to understand our expectations and what we expect, the tradition will continue.
What is it that you look for in a corner during recruiting, and then also hitting the transfer portal? Obviously, you guys had picked up a lot of those.
Yeah, the obvious thing is talent. So they've got to be able to play this, to have the skill set to play here and in the SEC. But again, the biggest thing now is they've got to be a fit from a character standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. I mean, to me, that's everything, because if you bring the wrong kid in from a character or cultural standpoint, it could devastate your room. You know what I mean? So we wanted to make sure that we looked for kids that, one, had Louisiana ties, because we felt like, a kid is always going to play and have a little bit more passion if he's able to play for his in-home state school. And all those kids that we brought in the back end are Louisiana kids in some form or fashion. So just being on the phone with them, talking to their moms, to their dads, to their grandparents, you could hear it in their voice, and that little bit of excitement about those guys having the opportunity to come back and play for LSU. It just adds just a little bit different dimension when they've got ties and a connection to the state.
Position coaches with this transfer portal now, seems like it's a very delicate thing, because you want kids to play, but you don't want to put them out there before they're ready, and they might think they're ready, and the coaches think they're not ready. How do you deal with this new environment?
I think it's just you know, it's part of the development process. I mean, you know, you have honest conversations, you know, with the young man that he might think that he's ready, and you know that he's not. You have an honest conversation with him. You have an honest conversation with the guys that are in the transfer portal that you're bringing into your program. Make sure that they understand the standards and expectations, you know, of why you're recruiting them. Like a lot of those guys that we brought in, we knew that we lost a lot of talent. We lost a lot of experience. So we needed guys that had played at a high level, you know, proven players to come in to replace some of that experience. But we also needed guys to come in and set the room culturally, you know, to the standards that we know that we're going to instill.
How exciting is it, I think spring football is about a month away, for you guys to get out there and start molding the team and everything when it's your first team?
Oh man, that's the best. Like I can't wait to get on the grass. Like all this meeting stuff is good. Going through HR, I'm glad that all that stuff is over with, and you know now we're in the process of, you know, offense, defensive, special teams, of learning each other, learning the system, you know, figuring out, you know, how to get on the same page with the terms and things like that. But being on the field with the players, that's why we coach. That's what we do. Why we do what we do. So that we're all looking forward to.
We'll do one more if y'all want to.
I mean, you've said character 3 times now, so obviously that's something that's important to you all and something that you're stressing. What is that? What does that look like for Brian Kelly and stuff?
Yeah, it looks like being on time. It looks like a guy that has attention to detail. It looks like a guy that has great passion. It looks like somebody who's not afraid to call their teammate out, but not in a negative way. You know what I mean? It looks like somebody that's gonna, you know, not necessarily, you know, just be a great player himself, but someone that's gonna be able to lead and bring the group with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.